When I was a boy, I would often go fishing with my father. We would cast our line into canals and lakes and off of ocean piers. Much like in the time of Jesus, fishing today is a pretty good analogy for evangelism and church planting. I imagine the evangelism and church planting in our society is really taking place in two ways. There's really two approaches to fishing today. One, I imagine a good-sized lake. It's well stocked and large. Lots of fish in that lake. However, it's also heavily fished. There are fishermen shoulder to shoulder, stacked up, crowded in along the bank, casting their lines into the lake, looking to get a catch. There are also boats out in the middle of the lake going for deeper waters, and they're maybe 5 or 10 feet apart as they crowd the center of the lake. This lake, this body of water, it's best compared to the population segments and the groups of people in our society that are really friendly to church as we've known it. If they get an invitation to church, they'll often gladly accept, or maybe on the second or third try, they'll come and be grateful for the invitation. If they want to renew their faith, they'll think they need to get back to church. If they think to themselves, I need to get my life right with God, the first thing they're going to think of is finding a good church. This lake are all the people that are attracted to or have a gravitational pull to church as we've known it. They're friendly toward church as we've known it, and they're welcoming and open to it. And there are many fishermen fishing this body of water. But then I think of another body of water. It's much larger and very diverse and also full of life. Perhaps we'd compare it to the Great Lakes collectively, or even larger like the Gulf of Mexico or the Mediterranean Sea. This larger body of water, this sea, this represents all of those populations, those cultures and population segments that are not going to walk through the doors of our church buildings. They're not going to automatically respond to our programs or be delighted to get our flyers in the mail. The only way to reach them is to go into their cultures, their subcultures, their communities, to live out the presence and the proclamation of the gospel, to go to them, to be as Jesus did, as the Word dwelt among us upon becoming flesh. We must go and flesh out the gospel. We must go to them. We must go fishing in these waters. But this body of water is not well fished. The workers remain few. There are a few boats out on the sea. Perhaps every mile or two, they can see one another on the horizon and give a wave. There are fishermen on the sea line, on the shoreline, but maybe every mile or two apart as they cast their line out into the surf, trying to get a catch. This body of water are those that are not going to respond to, frankly, church as we've known it. They need us to go to them and to bring the gospel and community in ways that make sense to them and in their world, just as Jesus came to us in our world, in a time, in a place, in a certain culture. There are these two bodies of water, and for Global City Mission, we want to affirm all those ministries and celebrate all those churches that are fishing that first lake. That is an important work and brings renewal to the church, and it should continue. And at the same time, we see our calling and our conviction is to go into the deep and to fish that sea, full of life and diversity. And we want to invite others to join us, to go into uncharted waters and fish that great and glorious sea, full of the life and diversity that it has to offer. Global City Mission Initiative is making disciples at the world's crossroads.